Hello, good morning everyone. Myself is Kiran Mai, lecturer in physics working at Government City College. Today we are going to discuss about interference of light. It has two parts. And it is divided into two division of wavefront and division of amplitude. Now first of all we'll see the principle of superposition. This principle states that the resultant displacement of a particle of the medium acted upon by two or more waves simultaneously is the algebraic sum of the displacements of the same particle due to individual waves in the absence of others. Suppose, due to a single wave train, the displacement of the particle at a certain point at any instant is y1 in a given direction, and that due to another wave train, the displacement is y2 in the absence of first. According to the principle of superposition, the instantaneous resultant displacement capital R of the particle due to two waves acting together is expressed by R1 equals to Y1 plus Y2. If the two displacements are in opposite directions, then the resultant is expressed as R1 equals to Y1 minus Y2. Now, interference of light. When two light waves superimpose, then the resultant amplitude in the region of superposition is different than the amplitude of individual waves. This modification in the distribution of intensity in the region of superposition is called interference. When the resultant amplitude is the sum of the amplitudes due to two waves, the interference is known as constructive interference, and when the resultant amplitude is equal to the difference of two amplitudes, then the interference is known as destructive interference. Now this interference in surface waves. Here we examine the waves on the surface of water when a vertical pin is made to vibrate. Okay, now this was explained by the Young's experiment. Thomas Young in 1801 first demonstrated experimentally the phenomenon of interference of light. The apparatus is shown in the figure. He allowed the sunlight to pass through a pinhole as and then at some distances through two sufficiently close pin holes S1 and S2 in an opaque screen. The interference pattern was observed on the screen XY. He observed a few colored bright and dark bands on the screen. Nowadays, to increase the brightness, pinholes S1 and S2 are replaced by a narrow slits. Moreover, to increase the number of fringes, sunlight is replaced by monochromatic light. The interference pattern consists of equally spaced bright and dark bands. Now, how we have explained this theory? When sunlight passes through pinholes, capital S, spherical waves are spread out. We know by Huygens principle that each point on the wavefront is a center of secondary wavelets. Hence, spherical waves also spread out from pinholes S1 and S2. The radii of these wavefronts increase as they move away from S1 and S2. Hence, they superimpose on each other. Now, next, continuous circular arcs represents the wave crust, while dotted circular arcs represent the wave troughs in each wave. At point where a crust due to one wave falls on the crust due to another wave, the resultant amplitude is the sum of the amplitudes due to each wave separately. As the intensity is proportional to the square of the amplitude, and hence the resultant intensity at these points is increased. This is known as constructive interference. At points where a crust due to one wave falls on trough of other wave, the resultant amplitude is equal to the difference of amplitude due to separate waves, and hence the resultant intensity is minimum. This is known as destructive interference. Now, next is intensity at a point in a plane. Consider a monochromatic source of light as emitting waves S1 and S2 be narrow pinholes equidistant from the source S. The waves arriving at S1 and S2 from S will be in phase at all times. Now, we shall investigate the resultant intensity of a point at a point P of the screen XY placed parallel to S1 and S2 as a result of interference. Let A1 and A2 be the amplitudes of the waves from S1 and S2 and delta be the phase difference between the two waves reaching at a point P. If y1 and y2 are the displacements of the waves, then y1 equals to a1 sin omega t, y2 equals to a2 sin omega t plus delta. Now, according to the principle of superposition, when a particle is distributed simultaneously by two or more waves, the resultant displacement is equal to the sum of the displacements due to each wave separately. Hence, resultant displacement is given by y equals to y1 plus y2. Substituting the above relation, we get a1 sin omega t plus a2 sin omega t cos delta plus a2 cos omega t sin delta. Therefore, from that we can write a1 plus a2 cos delta equals to r cos theta, a2 sin delta equals to r sin theta, where r and theta are new constants. Substituting equations, we get y1 equals to sin omega t into r cos theta plus cos omega t r sin theta. That is nothing but r sine of omega t plus theta. Hence, the resultant vibration of P is a simple harmonic motion of amplitude capital R. The resultant amplitude can be obtained by squaring equations and adding. We get r square cos square theta plus r square sin square theta equals to a1 plus a2 cos delta whole square plus a2 sin delta square. R square equals to a1 square plus a2 square cos square delta plus 2a1 a2 cos delta plus a2 square sin square delta. Therefore, from that we know that cos square theta plus sin square theta equals to 1. By applying that, we get a1 square plus a2 square plus 2a1 a2 cos delta. The resultant intensity at P is given by square of the amplitude. I equals to r square equals to a1 square plus a2 square plus 2a1 a2 cos delta. The phase difference between the two waves arriving at P is given by delta equals to 2 pi by lambda. That is path difference. That is nothing but 2 pi by lambda into S2P minus S1P. Now we consider the following cases. Condition for maximum intensity. Intensity is maximum when cos delta is plus 1. Then phase difference is delta equals to 2n pi, where n is 0, 1, 2, 3, so on. Therefore, delta equals to 0, 2 pi, 4 pi, 0. Path difference will be S2P minus S1P equals to n lambda. Now, I maximum equals to a1 square plus a2 square plus 2a1 a2. That is nothing but a1 plus a2 square whole square. This shows that the resultant intensity is greater than the sum of two separate intensities. Next case is condition for minimum intensity. The intensity I is minimum when cos delta is minus 1. That is, phase difference is delta equals to 2n plus 1 into pi. N equals to 0, 1, 2, 3, so on. Delta equals to pi, 3 pi, 4 pi. Path difference will be given by delta equals to S2p minus S1p, that is 2n plus 1 into lambda by 2. Therefore, I minimum will be given A1 minus A2 whole square. Thus, the resultant intensity is less than the sum of two separate intensities. Special case is when I1 equals to A2, then I maximum will be if 4a square, I minimum will be 0. Energy distribution is clear that the intensity at bright points is 4a square while the intensity at dark points is 0. Therefore, from the figure, we know that the formation of interference fringes is in accordance with the law of conservation of energy. There is no destruction of energy. No, there is no destruction of energy as a result of interference. The energy is simply redistributed. The intensity at maxima increases at the expense of intensity of minima. We shall know mathematically that the average intensity is equal to the sum of separate intensities. Whenever energy apparently disappears at a minima is actually present at a maxima. The average intensity between the range delta is 0 and delta is 2 pi given by I average equals to integration of 0 to 2 pi I d delta by integration of 0 to 2 pi d delta. That is nothing but substituting we get a1 to a1 square delta plus a2 square delta plus 2a1 a2 the sine delta whole power by applying the limits 0 to 2 pi divided by delta into applying the limits 0 to 2 pi. That is nothing but a1 square 2 pi plus a2 square 2 pi plus 0 divided by 2 pi. That is a1 square plus a2 square. So there is no violation of law of conservation of energy in the phenomenon of interference. Now, next is nodal lines and their equation. Consider 2 point sources. Consider 2 point sources S1 and S2 emitting waves in the same phase. The waves from the two sources are shown in figure. It is observed from figure that there are a series of points where the crust from one source meets a trough from other source. The loci of these points are marked by the dashed lines. These lines represent positions of zero vibrations and are called nodal lines. So, the lines joining the points of minimum intensity are called nodal lines. Let S1 and S2 be two sources of lights are shown in figure. The middle point of the line joining S1 and S2 is taken as the origin of a coordinate axis. Let P be a point whose coordinates are x, y. If 2d be the distance between the two sources, then the coordinates of S1 and S2 are minus d, 0 and d, 0. Now we shall obtain the equation for the nodal lines. From figure we have S1p square equals to x plus d whole square plus y square. That is nothing but under root of x plus d whole square plus y square. S2p square equals to d minus x whole square plus y square. Therefore, S1p minus S2p equals to under root of x1 plus d whole square plus y square minus under root of d minus x whole square plus y square. Let's find out the locus of point P such that path difference is become delta. Therefore, delta equals to under delta under root of x plus d whole square plus y square can be written as equals to delta plus under root of minus d minus x whole square plus y square. Squaring on both sides we get x plus d whole square plus y square equals to delta square plus 2 delta under root of d minus x whole square plus y square plus d minus x whole square plus y square. 4xd minus delta square equals to 2 delta under root d minus x whole square plus y square. Again squaring we get 16 square d square plus delta power 4 minus 8x d delta square equals to 4 delta square d minus x whole square plus y square. Therefore, 16x square d square plus delta power 4 equals to 4 delta square d square plus 4 delta square x square plus 4 delta square y square. Dividing by delta square d square is 16x square by delta square plus delta square by d square equals to 4 plus 4. 4x square d by d square plus 4y square by d square. By taking 4x square as common, we get 4x square into 4d square minus delta square divided by del d square delta square minus 4y square by d square equals to 4d square minus delta square by d square. Therefore, we get x square by delta square by 4 minus y square by d square minus delta square by 4 equals to 1. This is an equation represents a hyperbola. When delta equals to 2n plus 1 into lambda by 2, the curves correspond to minima. Delta equals to n lambda, the curves correspond to maxima. Different sources and consider two sources S1 and S2 emitting light that have drawn dots and dashes on the screen. The dots represents points for which the distances from S1 and S2 differ by n lambda, where n is any integer. The dashes correspond to path difference n plus half into lambda. Consider the following conditions. First one, the waves starting from S1 and S2 are in same phase. In this case, all the dots on the screen will be bright while the dashes will be dark at all times. So, we get stationary interference pattern on the screen. Second point. The waves starting from S1 and S2 differ in phase by pi. In this case, all dots on the screen will be dark while the dashes will be bright at all times. So, we again get a stationary interference pattern on the screen. Third point, the waves starting from S1 and S2 differ in any constant phase. In this case, 2, we get stationary interference pattern, but the points of bright intensity and dark intensity are changed. Fourth point, the waves starting from S1 and S2 differ in phase which is changing at random with time. In this case, the interference pattern will also change positions at random. The two sources which maintain zero or any constant phase relation between themselves are known as coherent sources. This phenomenon is called as coherence. However, if the phase difference changes with the time, the two sources are known as incoherent sources. Next, how these interference fringes can be explained. Theory of interference fringes. Consider a narrow monochromatic source capital S and two pinholes S1 and S2 equidistant from S. The pinholes provide the 2-point sources vibrating in the same phase. The two sources are separated at a distance 2d. Let a screen XY be placed at a distance capital D parallel to S1, S2. The point O on the screen is equidistant from S1 and S2 and hence the path difference between the two waves reaching at O from S1 and S2 is 0. Therefore, at this point intensity is maximum. Consider a point P at a distance from O. We now consider the condition from bright or a dark fringe at this point. From right angle triangle S1QP, S1P square equals to S1Q square plus QP square. That is nothing but capital D square plus X minus D whole square. Similarly, in right angle triangle S2RP, S2P square equals to S2R square plus RP whole square. That is D square plus X plus D whole square. Now, S2P minus S1P whole square equals to X1 plus D whole square minus X minus D whole square. That is 4XD. Now that S2P minus S1P into S2P plus S1P equals to 4XD. In Young's modulus, D is some 1000 times greater than 2D or X. So from this S2P plus S1P is replaced by capital 2D. This is error, not more than a fraction of 1 plus. Therefore S2P minus S1P into 2D equals to 4XD. That gives rise to 2XD by capital D. Position and spacing of fringes. Now consider the following cases. Bright fringes. The point P is brighter when the path difference is a whole number multiple of wavelength lambda. That is S2P minus S1P equals to n lambda, where n equals to 0, 1, 2, 3, so on. Substituting the value, we get a 2xd by capital D equals to n lambda, x equals to n lambda d by 2d. The equation gives the distance of the bright fringes from point O. At O, the path difference is 0, hence there is a bright fringe. If n equals to 1, x1 equals to lambda d by 2d. If n equals to 2, x equals to 2 lambda d by 2d. Therefore, x2 minus x1 equals to 2 lambda d by 2d minus lambda d by 2d, that is lambda d by 2d. Therefore, this is the equation for the two constructive bright fringes. Next case is dark fringes. The point P is dark when the path difference is an odd number multiple of half wavelength. That is S2P minus S1P equals to 2n plus 1 into lambda by 2, where n equals to 1, 2, 3, so on. 2xd by capital D equals to 2n plus 1 into lambda by 2. That is x equals to 2n plus 1 into lambda d by 4d. This gives the distance of the dark fringes from point O. The dark fringes are formed. The dark fringes are formed as follows. When n equals to 0, x naught equals to lambda d by 4d. When n equals to 1, x1 equals to 3 lambda d by 4d. Therefore, from n equals to n, xn equals to 2n plus 1 into lambda d by 4d. The distance between any two consecutive dark fringes x2 minus x1 is 5 lambda d by 4d minus 3 lambda d by 4d, that is lambda d by 2d. Hence, the spacing between the spacing between any two consecutive maxima is the same. This is expressed as beta equals to lambda d by 2b and is known as fringe width. Now next is conditions for interference of light. To obtain a permanent or stationary interference pattern, the conditions are classified into following three parts. Conditions for sustained interference, condition for observation of fringes, condition for good contrast between maxima and minima. Now first one, condition for sustained interference. The two sources should be coherent, that is they should be vibrate in the same phase, or there should be constant phase difference between them. In order to obtain stationary interference pattern, the resultant intensity at any point should be constant with time. The resultant intensity at any point is given by expression I equals to a1 square plus a2 square plus 2a1 a2 cos delta. It is clear from this expression that I will be constant provided delta remain constant. The total phase difference delta consists of two factors delta 1 and delta 2, where delta 1 is initial phase difference between the two sources and delta 2 is the phase difference at that point due to path difference between two waves. As path difference for a particular point remains constant, hence delta 2 remains constant. Thus, delta will remains constant. Now, next second condition is the two sources must emit continuous waves of the same wavelength and time period. If the two sources do not emit light of the same period, the intensity at any point will be alternatively maximum and minimum, and hence the interference will not be sustained. Now, second condition is a condition for observation. Now, the separation between the two sources 2D should be small. When the separation between the two sources is small, the fringe width d lambda by 2D by 2D is large and the fringes are separately visible. On the other hand, if 2D is large, fringe width will be small, and due to limited resolving power of eye, the fringes will not be separately visible. Now, next is the distance capital D between the two sources and screen should be large. When D is large, fringe width is large and hence they are separately visible. The background should be dark. Third condition is conditions for good contrast. The amplitudes of the interfering waves should be equal or nearly. In case of two interfering waves of amplitudes A1 and A2, the intensities of maxima and minima are A1 plus A2 whole square and A1 minus A2 whole square. If the two amplitudes are equal, the minimum intensity would be 0 and there would be a good contrast between maxima and minima. If there is a large difference between A1 and A2, the intensity of minima will not much differ from that of maxima and contrast will be poor. The sources must be narrow, that is, they must be extremely small. If the sources are not narrow, the interference between waves from different parts of the same source will take place and contrast will be poor. The sources should be monochromatic. Instead of a monochromatic source, a white light source is used. Then each separate color will produce its own interference fringes with its own spacing. The different set of fringes due to different colors will overlap on each other and the net effect would be white light. Only a number of limited fringes can be observed in this case. Hence, the sources should be monochromatic. Next, types of interference. The phenomenon of interference is divided into two classes: division of wavefront and division of amplitude. Division of wavefront. The incident wavefront is divided into two parts by utilizing the phenomenon of reflection, refraction or diffraction. These two parts of the same wavefront travel unequal distances and reunite at some angle to produce interference bands. The Fresnel biprism, Lloyd's mirror are examples for this case. Next one is division of amplitude. The amplitude of the incoming beam is divided into two parts either by parallel reflection or refraction. These divided parts reunite after traversing different paths and produce interference. In this case, it is not essential to employ a point or a narrow line source, but a broad light source may be employed to produce brighter bands. Newton rings, Michelson's interferometer comes under this class. Next one is Fresnel's biprism. Fresnel used a biprism to show the phenomenon of interference. A biprism is essentially a combination of two acute prisms placed base to base. In fact, this combination is obtained from an optically plain glass plate by proper grinding and polishing. The obtuse angle of the prism is about 179 degrees and the other angles are about 30 minutes each. The action of the biprism is to produce two coherent images of a given slit which are separated at a certain distance and behave as two coherent sources. To show the phenomenon of interference, a horizontal section of apparatus is shown. The experimental arrangement consists of an optical bench carrying three stands. The first for an adjustable slit, second for biprism, and third for a micrometer eyepiece. These stands are adjusted at the same height. The stands can be moved along as well as right angles to the length of optical bench. The slit and the biprism can be rotated in their own planes. The slit S is illuminated by monochromatic source of light such as sodium lamp. The light emerging from the slit falls on the biprism. The edge capital B of the biprism divides the incident wavefront into two parts. Firstly, the one which is passing through the upper half ABD of the biprism is deviated through a small angle towards the lower half of the diagram and appears to diverge from the virtual image S1. Secondly, the one which is passing through the lower half CBD is deviated towards the upper half and appears to diverge from the virtual image S2. The two emergent wavefronts are derived from the same wavefront. Hence, the fundamental condition of interference is satisfied. S1 and S2 serve as coherent sources. The interference fringes are obtained in overlapping region E to F and can be seen by eyepiece. Determination of wavelength of light. Adjustments. To obtain the interference fringes, the following adjustments are made. First one, the optical bench is leveled with the help of a spirit level. Second one, slit, biprism and eyepiece are adjusted to the same height. Third one, eyepiece is focused on its cross wires. Fourth one, the slit is made narrow and vertical and is illuminated by monochromatic light. Fifth one, the biprism is moved right angles to the length of optical bench till overlapping region is brought in field of view. The tangent screw of slit is rotated so that the fringes appear. Sixth one, the fringes are made clear by rotating the biprism in its own plane with the help of tangent screw provided with biprism stand. Next, seventh one, the eyepiece is moved away from the biprism. The fringe shift sideways. This is known as lateral shift. The lateral shift is removed. When the lateral shift is removed, interference becomes stationary for any position of eyepiece. The reason for lateral shift is that the line joining the slit and biprism is not parallel to the length of optical bench. Next, theory. The wavelength lambda of the light can be determined by the following formula. Lambda equals to beta into 2D by capital D, where beta is fringe width, that is spacing between successive maxima or minima. Small 2D is a distance between two virtual sources. Capital D is the distance between the slit and eyepiece where the fringes are observed. Next, procedure. In order to determine the wavelength of light, the following measurements are made. First one, measurement of fringe width beta. The vertical cross wire is adjusted on any bright fringe and reading on micrometer screw is noted. Now we set the cross wire one by one of different bright fringes and note down the micrometer screw reading in each case. The mean distance between the two bright fringes beta is found out. Next, second one, measurement of capital D. The distance between slit and eyepiece can be read directly on the optical bench. This distance is then corrected from bench error, which gives capital D. Third one, measurement of 2D. To determine 2D, a lens with focal length less than 1/4 of the distance between biprism and eyepiece is mounted between biprism and eyepiece as shown in figure. The lens is adjusted in two positions, L1 and L2, till sharp images of S1 and S2 are obtained in the field of view of eyepiece. The distances D1 and D2 between the real images in two cases are measured. Now 2D is calculated. From the figure, d1 by 2d equals to v by u and d2 by 2d equals to u by v. 2d equals to under root d1 d2. Thus, the wavelength at lambda can be determined by measuring the values beta, capital D and 2d. We know that fringe width beta is given by lambda into capital D by 2d, where the symbols have their usual meanings. When the monochromatic source of light is moved nearer the slit, the fringe width beta does not change. Of course, the intensity may increase. The fringe width is directly proportional to the wavelength of light used. If the separation between the two coherent sources 2D is decreased, fringe width increases. As the slit is widened, the fringes disappear gradually because the slit now becomes equivalent to the large number of narrow parallel slits. These slits produce their own fringe system at different places due to their overlapping uniform illumination results. If white light is used, the central fringe is white. There are few colored fringes on both sides of central fringe. The blue color is nearer to the central fringe, while the red color is farthest away. Determination of thickness of a thin sheet of transparent material. The biprism experiment can be used to determine the thickness of a thin sheet of a transparent material such as glass, mica, etc. When a thin transparent sheet of thickness t and refractive index mu is introduced in the path of one of the interfering beams. The entire fringe system is displayed through a constant distance towards the path of the beam in which the plate is introduced. It should be noted here that fringe width remains unchanged. Consider the path S1P. The length S1P minus T of this path is travelled in air with the velocity of light c, while the length T is travelled in mica with velocity cg, where cg is the velocity of light in mica. The time taken by the light to cover this distance is given by S1P minus T by C plus T by Cg. Now, we know that C by Cg equals to mu. Hence, this S1 to P can be taken as S1P minus T by C plus T mu by C. Thus, the path S1 to P is equivalent to air path S1P plus mu minus 1 into T. Now, the path difference at P is path S2P in air minus path S1 to P. That is S2P minus S1P plus mu minus 1 into T. That is 2xd by d minus mu minus 1 into T. For nth maximum, path difference is n lambda. Therefore, for nth maxima, 2x and d by capital D minus mu minus 1 into t equals to n lambda. Xn equals to d by capital D by 2d into n lambda plus mu minus 1 into t, where xn denotes the position of nth maxima. In in the absence of plate t equals to 0, the nth maxima is dn lambda by 2d. If S denotes the displacement of nth maxima by introducing the mica sheet, then S equals to D by 2D into n lambda plus mu minus 1 into T
Now change of
minus
phase
dn
on
lambda by
reflection
2D.
according to Stokes.
Therefore,
When a light wave is reflected at
that
the
is nothing
surface
but D
of
by
an
2D
optically
into
denser
mu
medium,
minus
it
1 into
suffers a
T.
phase change
Equation
of
is
pi, that
independent
is
of
a
n.
path difference of lambda by 2. It should be
Thickness of
remembered
mica
that
sheet. The
no such
displacement S
phase
of
change
any
is
maxima by
introduced if the
introducing a mica
reflection takes
sheet of
place from
thickness
the
small t is
surface of
given by
rarer
S
medium.
equals to
Let us
D by
consider a
2D
wave
into mu
AO of
minus 1
light of
into T.
amplitude
That
small
is
a p incident at
nothing but
point O on the
S into
boundary
2D
M1
divided
M2
by
of the
2D
medium.
capital D into mu
1
minus 1.
and 2. Medium 2 is
Therefore,
optically denser than
where
medium.
2D and
The
capital
wave
D
is
can be
partially
measured
reflected along OB and
prism
partially
experiment. To
transmitted along
determine S,
OC.
the
Let
monochromatic
R be
source
the
of light is
reflection
replaced
coefficient
by
and
white
T be
light
the
source and the
transmission
crosswire is set
coefficient.
on the white
Now the
fringe.
amplitude
Now
of
from this,
reflected wave will be AR,
small
while that
t
of
can be
transmitted wave
calculated.
as AT. Suppose that directions of reflected and transmitted wave rays are reversed as shown in figure by doing so we should have a wave OA of original amplitude small a. Let us see the effect of this reversibility. On reversing OB, we get a reflected wave OA of amplitude AR square and transmitted wave OD of amplitude ART. Let R dash and T dash be the fractions of amplitude reflected and transmitted when the ray is traveling from denser to rarer medium. Now on reversing CO, we get a reflected wave OD of amplitude AT dash and transmitted wave OA of amplitude ATT dash. As there was no wave originally along OD, hence OD should be 0. ART plus ATR dash equals to 0. Along OA, there should be a wave of amplitude small a, that is AR square plus ATT dash equals to A. From equation 1, we have R dash equals to minus R, TT dash equals to 1 minus R square. The negative sign indicates the phase of change of pi, either at reflection from rarer to denser medium or at reflection from denser to rarer medium. In Lloyd's mirror experiment, where the interference takes place between direct waves from the source and reflected waves from optically denser medium, it is observed that central fringe is dark instead of bright. This is only possible when light suffers a phase change of pi on reflection at the mirror. This shows that a phase change of pi is introduced when the reflection takes place at the surface of denser medium. Lloyd's single mirror. Lloyd in 1834 devised a convenient method to obtain two coherent sources of light to produce sustained interference. The importance of Lloyd's method is that it proves a phase change of pi occurs when reflection takes place at surface of an optically denser medium. The experimental arrangement of Lloyd's mirror is shown. It consists of a plain mirror MN polished on the front surface and blackened at the back to avoid multiple reflections. Light from a narrow slit S1 illuminated by a monochromatic source of light is allowed to incident on mirror almost at grazing angle. The reflected beam appears to diverge from S2, which is virtual image of S1. Thus, S2 and S1 act as two coherent sources. The direct cone of light PS1Q and reflected cone of light PS2B superimposed over each other and produces interference fringes in overlapping region PB of the screen. Zero order fringe. The central zero order fringe is expected to lie at 0 and it should be bright. It is obvious from figure that O is outside the region of interference and hence the central fringe is not usually seen. However, the central fringe may be made visible by moving the screen towards the mirror MN such that the point O of the screen coincides with N of the mirror. Now the central fringe is formed at O.
No. The central fringe may be made visible by illuminating the slit with a white light and introducing a thin film of transparent material in the path of direct rays. By doing so, the entire fringe pattern is displaced in the upward direction, so the entire pattern may be seen. The central fringe is dark with the colored fringes on either side. Theory. Here, S1 is the real source while S2 is the reflected virtual image of source S1. In this way, S1 and S2 act as coherent sources producing interference. Here, an additional phase difference is introduced due to reflection. So, Y1 equals to A into e power I omega t minus phi 1 into j, and y2 equals to a into e power I into omega t minus phi 2 j, where phi 1 is 2 pi by lambda x1 and phi 2 is 2 pi by lambda x2 plus or minus phi. The resultant amplitude is given by y equals to y1 plus y2. Therefore, substituting that, we get a into e power I omega t into cos phi 1 minus I sin phi 1 plus cos phi 2 minus I sin phi 2 into j. That is e power I omega t into r cos theta minus r sin theta into j. R into e power I omega t into e power minus I theta into j. Now y equals to r into e power I omega t minus theta into j dot j. Therefore, r cos theta equals to a cos of phi 1 plus phi 2, r sin theta equals to a sin 1 phi 1 plus phi 2. I equals to r square, that is a square into cos square phi 1 plus cos square phi 2 plus 2 cos phi 1 cos phi 2 plus sin square phi 1 plus sin square phi 2 plus 2 sin phi 1 sin phi 2. Therefore, the intensity is maximum cos of phi 2 minus phi 1 by 2 equals to 1. Therefore, phi 2 minus phi 1 will be 2 pi 2 n pi. 2 pi by lambda x2 minus 2 pi by lambda x1 plus or minus pi equals to 2n pi. Therefore, x2 minus x1 equals to 2n plus or minus 1 into lambda by 2. So, the maximum intensity occurs when the path difference is an odd multiple of lambda by 2. If intensity is maximum when cos phi 2 minus phi 1 by 2 equals to 0, phi 2 minus phi 1 by 2 equals to 2n plus 1 into pi by 2, or phi 2 minus phi 1 equals to 2n plus 1 into phi. x2 minus x1 equals to 2n plus 2 into pi by 2, or 2n into pi by 2. Thus, when path difference is an even multiple of pi by 2, the intensity becomes 0. Thus, when x1 equals to x2, we get the central fringe. This satisfies the condition of a minima.
Determination of wavelength. For the determination of wavelength, Lloyd's mirror is mounted vertically on an upright of an optical bench and placed along the length of bench. On the other hand, a narrow vertical slit is mounted which is illuminated by a monochromatic source of light. Now the mirror is rotated about an axis parallel to the length of bench until distinct fringes are observed in an micrometer eyepiece. The plane of the mirror is now exactly parallel to the length of slit. As in case of biprism experiment, the fringe width beta is measured by micrometer eyepiece. The distance 2D between the two virtual sources is measured by displacement method using a convex lens. The distance capital D between screen and slit is measured by meter scale. Now, wavelength of monochromatic source of light can be calculated by using the formula beta equals to lambda D by 2D. Distinction between biprism and Lloyd's mirror fringes. The following are the main points. In biprism experiment, the complete pattern of interference fringes is obtained. On the other hand, in Lloyd's mirror arrangement, ordinarily a fringe itself